Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AI in the Real World. AI has quickly become part of almost every engineering conversation. But beyond the headline and ambitious use cases, many teams are asking a much more practical question. How can we use AI to help engineers work smarter today? And that is exactly is our topic of today's episode. AI for everyday engineering, turning AI into real-term productivity. And I'm delighted to introduce our guest speaker for the day, Rashi Raj, a senior manager at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Rashi leads data platform and infrastructure teams that build customer facing services, processing large scale telemetry data to deliver recommendations on cost, performance, and reliability. She brings a highly practical perspective on how AI can enhance engineering productivity, decision making, and day to day workflows without adding unnecessary complexity. In this conversation, we will explore with her where AI is creating real value for engineering teams, how organizations can adopt AI effectively, and what it takes to move from experimentation to practical impact. Welcome to the podcast, Rashi. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much, Sheetal, for having me here. I'm delighted to part of your podcast. I have been listening to your podcast for all the past 7 or 8 episodes. So I'm very glad that I'm part of this. And yeah, I'm here to share my experience, what we have been doing with AI, and how my team is adopting to AI.
Thank you for your kind words. And yes, you are my ninth guest on this episode. So, on this podcast. So, thank you so much again for being here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Before we dive into the question and answer, why don't you briefly introduce yourself to our audience and share a little bit background of your experience?
Sounds good. So, as Sheetal has already introduced me, that I'm a senior engineering manager for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I have been part of Oracle for almost 5.5 years now, but I have been in this industry for 15 plus years. I was engineer first, and then I have transitioned to management. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm leading a very critical team, a customer facing service cloud advisor for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And what we do is generate recommendations for all our customers to how optimally use their cloud resources and how to optimally get the better performance out of their resources. So in turn, they can save cost, improve their performance, improve their reliability. So I have a globally distributed, very large team, and the components are, also distributed, and it's a large distributed systems that I have been managing. So overall, I have been in the data platform side, big data processing, ingestions, and now ever since AI has become part of our lives, I'm building AI capabilities into my service. Be it an AI data platform or using AI to improve our production systems, improve our operational capabilities, reduce the time consumed to do a lot of mundane tasks and
Mm-hmm.
improve our productivity. So that is the background about me, and I'm really excited to be here.
Uh, Very rich experience. So thank you for that background. Uh, what I especially appreciate about your perspective is how practical and grounded it is. Like you're going to talk about your experience in implementing this AI tools in your day-to-day operations. So I'm like very excited. It's not only theoretical concept, and what we are going to talk about is what is happening in day-to-day life of an engineer to improve productivity and make better decisions. So again, thank you once more for being here and sharing your experience. So let me dive into my first question because it's exactly what I wanted to you touch base upon it in your introduction. So everyone is talking about AI adoption now, but from your perspective, where are engineering teams actually today in terms of meaningful usage?
Yeah, honestly, I think the conversation has become more practical these days.
Yeah.
Initially, when we heard about AI, people were saying either AI is going to replace software engineering completely, or
Mm-hmm.
people were dismissing it, saying it's a complete hype. But what I'm seeing right now is much more grounded and practical. The places
Okay.
where teams are getting real value are actually pretty practical things, like how we are doing testing, debugging, documentation, code reviews, operational
Mm-hmm.
investigations, right? These are the basically very mundane stuff that engineers already spend huge amount of time doing
Mm-hmm.
these work every single day. So in a very large systems, there when you have multiple components, data flows through with each component, stitching back together, understanding the insights about the data, insights about
Yeah.
any issue, it becomes really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I realized pretty quickly is that lot of engineering work is not about writing a sophisticated algorithm all day long. That's not engineers do all day, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
fixing the bugs, they are navigating complexity, they are writing logs, they are checking dashboards, they are checking the deployments, they are searching for documentation to make sense,
That's right.
build the context for themselves,
Yes,
right? So,
absolutely.
and that is across system. So
Mm-hmm.
this is where AI is becoming very, very helpful, genuinely for, especially for my team. Right?
Okay.
I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Testing was one of the first areas where we adopted AI. Unit tests become so easy. It's
Mm-hmm.
integrated with the way engineers are writing code. Unit test is easily generated with them. They don't have to, sit and craft the unit test and write it. It's written
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Correct.
Integration test, when you have multiple systems integrated together, integration tests are very, very important so that your system doesn't fail in production. So writing
Absolutely.
integration tests require a lot of context about all the different component, right? So it used to take several days, several iterations to make sure the integration tests are working efficiently. With AI, it
Mm-hmm.
has become very, very easy, and
Okay.
that we have able to reduce time, so it is more productive with the help of AI, because the context it is building, uh,
Mm-hmm.
engineers are providing accurate prompt to build this integration test, and that's how they are able to get it done from several days to weeks to now within a day or within few hours. But then there is a little caveat that not everything AI generate is
Is
100% accurate,
accurate.
right? So engineers have to use their own justification, or
Mm.
trying to understand which case fits well for this scenario, what are the edge cases that is AI is missing, and what is
Mm.
over engineered stuff that AI is providing. So
Mm-hmm.
you use it, but trust your judgment to validate and use whatever is needed. So but again, coming back to the area, testing is a very, very helpful area
Absolutely.
where we are seeing a lot of productivity increase by using AI. And
Mm-hmm.
again, documentation, right? There are several reports that we generate week to week basis for our own operations efficiency,
Mm.
for leadership, for
Mm.
our partner teams. We generate, hundreds of documents over time,
Logs.
and
Mm-hmm.
AI build that context and help us generate those documentation pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we still need to validate, verify before we consume that data, but at least data is generated pretty fast and somewhat reliable. So I think these are the engineering perspectives that I'm thinking, or we are seeing the huge adaptation of AI, and people are happy about it.
One thing probably I can correlate or add into your conversation. I'm on the other side of the table. I'm from the function side, so I don't write code. But at the same time, the same thing, the way the context matter for a technical team or engineers to understand the business process, as you were saying, it's not just about writing the code. What
Yeah.
you are writing is going to solve what problem is very, that context is very important to
Yeah.
make a successful code, right? At the same time, that's the exactly the functional people's role was, right? Or is like to uh, convert the business requirement into the technical documentation per se, to hand it over to engineers so that they can write the code and develop the
Yes.
program, and then so that line is getting blurred between the functional and technical, like the dependency what we used to have on each other, like now with the use of AI, I also can write code or can
Yeah.
figure out what has been written and where is the exact bug. So I'm doing other side of it, like I'm using AI tools to understand the existing code or generate new code. At the same time, engineers are doing the role. So that line between functional and technical roles has been getting blurred, and everybody has to play. That's exactly what somebody asked me, being in this industry, like whether AI will replace like roles like us. So I keep saying that it won't, it will replace in a sense that the people who are using AI to go beyond their duties
Yes.
will will be successful than the one who, it is not going to impact my area, because it is impacting your and my role, what we are performing as on
Yeah,
today.
so it's similar to how every role has evolved, right? 10
Evolved.
15 years, yeah, evolved. So
Mm,
10 15 years ago, there was no data engineer. There were
correct.
ETL developers, there are BI engineers, etc. When big data came into picture, then this role came up.
Came into it.
Otherwise, different roles are doing things. So similarly,
Exactly.
AI is blurring the lines, but
Mm.
it's not saying, oh, you are not needed anymore. Every role is important. It's becoming like one type of role where everyone
Global
is
kind of
kind,
level.
yeah,
Yeah.
global.
Yeah.
Everyone. So now coding is not becoming the major focus in software engineering or any
Mm.
industry. The major
Mhm.
focus is becoming building the context, building the domain knowledge,
Exactly.
understanding what prompt you need to write to generate right code. Because again, I'll give you an example. AI can
Mm.
write code, but without a proper context,
Context.
it will
Absolutely.
work in one environment and not work in another environment, right? It can make or break
Absolutely.
things. So
Yeah.
there was an incident where we were getting out of memory issue in one
Mm.
of the regions, one of the
Mm.
biggest region where we have a lot of data volume. So
Okay.
we used AI, we provided our context, and it
Mm.
it write very sophisticated code for us, and it
Mm.
worked. It fixed the issue in that region,
Mm.
and we thought that since it is the biggest region with biggest data volume, it should work in every region.
Mm.
But what happened in production when that code went in for every region? We
Other
have 100
region.
plus regions.
Mm.
One of the smaller regions started to break
Okay.
because data volume is not just volume. There is variety, veracity. There are different aspect of data that you have
Mm.
to take account for, and every region infrastructure is different depending on what data.
Absolutely.
So AI did not have that context. Only
Mm.
engineers have that context, right? So
Exactly.
unless we build that kind of master context, um, AI is helpful to write code, but engineering judgment
Has to be there.
is still very, very
Yeah. Very.
important. So,
Yeah.
the term that whether engineers will be replaced with AI, I don't think that is going to happen very soon. Yes, the roles are getting blurred.
Mm.
Anybody can write code, but the seasoned engineers are the ones who are going to maintain system, because if
Yeah.
everybody is writing code, things are gonna break.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's very important. Like you have to evolve with this technology
Yes.
to wear different caps now, different hats to perform those roles. And
Yes.
absolutely, knowledge is never waste. Like the experience you have gained has a value, but you have to find that value and use it in effective
Use it.
manner to make the best of it.
Yeah, now engineers are product managers. They are thinking about product. They are coming
Yeah,
up with their own ideas on how to adopt AI in various different aspect of software engineering, and not just software engineering. They are thinking beyond. They are thinking operationally. They are thinking organizational level, not just their components. So
absolutely.
the shift is coming.
Hmm.
So yes, I agree with you. The line is getting blurred, but every
But in
role
a good sense,
in
yeah,
a
that's what
good
I'm saying.
yes.
It's like a sky is the limit now.
Yeah.
Like you are not bounded by the definition of your roles and what companies are telling you. With this use, like with these tools at your service, you should make best of it rather than restricting yourself. Oh, this is not.
Yeah,
I
what
want to make.
AI does best is bring the information on your fingertips. Right,
Exactly.
there are vast amount of services, components, context, but with
Hmm.
the right prompt, you can get all the information within few minutes to you,
Absolutely.
in a
Mm.
summarized way, so you can make decision
Best.
faster, quickly.
Faster.
Right,
Mm.
you are not sitting here analyzing all the logs, going through all the dashboards, and
Yes.
understanding, oh, what really happened. You're looking at all the data everywhere, what break, how it break. So
Hmm.
people, engineers used to spend like hours and hours or days, debugging these kind of issue. AI, their log analytics, their debugging capability, triaging capability, these are very helpful tools. that
Yeah.
I think internally we have also built for my team using AI capabilities. So that is very helpful. So engineers
Mhm.
are actually utilizing their algorithms, their engineering brain to solve problem rather than doing, day-to-day
Yeah, sure.
operation works. That we are handing
That's
off to AI.
wonderful. I mean, I will really enjoying this era and our discussion, like how we are evolving along with the technology. But on the flip side, I wanted to check with you if you do you think like or what do you think prevents teams from using AI effectively in their day-to-day operations? We talked about happy scenarios, but what is the
Yeah,
other
I
side of
mean,
it?
when initially, we were getting into that direction that yes, now, it's a time to start using AI. There was a lot of resistance from the team.
Mm,
Some people like, uh, you know, the initial idea was, oh, it's we are training our own replacement. That is one
mhm,
kind of pushback from engineers, and they were a bit hesitant because they don't know
mm,
the capability, how it is going to help. Second
mm,
one is, trying to understand how to integrate the AI with all the workflows we have,
mm,
right? So AI is good. It has information, but you have to integrate with those systems. You have to integrate it with Jira. You have to integrate with, other workflows. You have a
absolutely.
different system. So if it is not integrated, it will not get the context, right? If it
Mm-hmm.
is not getting the context, you will use it and you will get frustrated. I'm not getting anything because
Mm,
AI doesn't even have access to those systems. Right.
absolutely.
So, these two type of things that I have seen mostly, that the more our systems are getting matured with integrating with AI to provide AI more information so that it can help us, at the end,
Human.
then that resistance is getting, is fading. The trust,
Mm-hmm.
engineers having trust in AI that, okay, is it producing gibberish or is it producing fake data? Is it hallucinating? Can I
Mm-hmm.
use this? And when we started implementing, like, okay, if even if it breaks, we will try to use and see how it moves fast. And then slowly engineers are, being open towards it, trying to adopt and then see, okay, it is looking like an assistant to me. It's
Hmm.
but I still have to use my judgment. I cannot blindly trust the data that
Just
AI
it.
is producing.
Yeah.
So then you can, slowly see the advantage of it, and then the resistance is going down. But yes, those were the two major areas where I saw the, slower adoption in
So
the beginning, um,
the
from
resistance to
the
adopt,
resistance.
like
Yeah.
nobody likes change,
Yes.
right? So perfect. Good. I think yes, but slowly, eventually, everybody understand the benefits of it, and industry is moving in that direction in every aspect of our life.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and every team is maturing, right? People who are
yes.
building these large language models, that is evolving. Every organization is slowly
Yeah.
integrating with these and, making more tools available on an
Mm-hmm.
organizational level so that, individual teams within those organizations are
Can
able to
use.
use. They are creating AI packs. They are creating various type of tools that you can integrate with your systems
Mm.
and to get more reliable output from your, AI platform. So that's when, it's gaining our trust.
Yes.
It's getting integrated,
Mm.
and engineers are also thinking it as an assistance. They are enjoying the benefit it is giving them. Okay, I am getting the similar work done within a day that used to take
Mm.
me weeks. A lot of mundane tasks they have automated.
Mm.
They have just given it to AI. AI will, help me generate this document. AI will, I'm just giving it context. They're building
That's
master
right.
context. So I
Mm.
think now I'm seeing the excitement of
Mm-hmm.
people realizing the capabilities of AI, how it is empowering them to become more
True.
and more, um, nuanced person, nuanced engineer, not just, someone who sits and codes and debugs and,
Mm-hmm.
going through different system and their logs.
Yeah.
So that shift is coming and that
Perfect.
resistance is going down.
That's a wonderful news. And just to add into that, I think from my perspective, I'm from cyber security industry, right?
Yeah.
So we are always very vigilant. Anything, because when we expose the data, it's a risk.
Yeah.
Everything what we give it, right? But that's like even as you said, the organizations are also getting matured. What
Yes.
we are exposing, we are putting guardrails,
Yes.
which LLM to be used, which are approved apps, which are approved tools and everything. That also becomes easier for employees to adopt to this tool, right? We don't want to blindly use anything which is available over the internet free of cost. So those guardrails also make our anxiety, like it tames our anxiety, right? We are not worried about what we are doing is actually approved by organization and everything. So that also another aspect which helps
That is a
to.
very important aspect, right? When I talked about the, integrating with different workflows,
Yes.
security aspect was blocking it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember a year and a half ago, in my organization, we did an AI hackathon where
Okay.
different teams were, they just created their own AI related capabilities, and they
Mm-hmm.
presented lot of it in a smaller scale, looked good.
You're good.
But if you want to productionalize it, you are stopped by the security, that you
Mm-hmm.
cannot do this, it's not available, there are, you cannot scan through Slack, it's a security risk, this you cannot
Correct.
integrate, it's a security risk. So lot of things were, good at the prototyping step, but not good
Absolutely.
at productionalize. So people could not adopt to it. But as
Mm-hmm.
our organization matured enough, the security guardrails are becoming more and more prominent, deciding what is allowed, what is not allowed, till what level they can go, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's becoming easier and easier to integrate with multiple different workflows. Now we
Absolutely.
can we can integrate with Jira, we can integrate with our notification center,
Mm-hmm.
logging systems, without making it a security threat.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, and that's a very important point that along with the employees, organization also need to mature
yes,
in adopting AI. So that helps engineers to make it best use of those tools.
absolutely.
So coming to my next question, in your experience, where does AI genuinely improve engineering productivity today?
Like I talked about, right? So what engineers are doing in a day-to-day basis, before AI came into our lives,
Mm-hmm.
engineers were getting issues, they were debugging the issues, they are going through logs, they are generating reports, they are writing some codes, they are writing tests, right? Not every day they are designing and architecting. This is our day-to-day job most of the time, right? So log,
Mm-hmm.
metrics, alarm, deployments, incident, these are the life of engineers.
Correct.
And after AI, all of these are at their fingertips. They can, get the logs, they can get the incident report, they can get the metrics, they can get everything on their fingertips. So the triaging part has gone down
Mm-hmm.
significantly, and that improves their productivity. They can write code using AI, they can write test using AI, they can
Mm-hmm.
debug any situation or any incident using AI. It generates the summary, they can generate reports. So their day-to-day life have improved, so their productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Very
same
well put.
same things that we were, shipping slower, because when you're doing manual effort, it takes time,
Yes.
right? You have to
Yes.
build
Yeah.
context, you have to make sure everything is following along the line, and the uh, mental load was, I would say, overload, because they have to
Mm.
remember so many things
Yes.
to do, do their day-to-day job. Now that part is taken care of by AI,
Mm-hmm.
so their productivity has increased.
And one aspect you touched base sir, you are like distributed system, right? You have information coming from multiple sources.
Yes.
So, like processing that amount of data by human brain is as you said, it's mentally challenging and
Yeah.
very overwhelming task. So, absolutely using AI tools to process this big chunk of data is helpful to improve our productivity.
Yeah, I mean, so suppose we deploy something today and it
Mm-hmm.
breaks somewhere. Now
Mm-hmm.
you have to go back and look at all the deployment trails, you have to look everything and understand where things broke, and then
Yes.
context, stitching back to where it started. It
Mm-hmm.
requires, uh, we used to take like several hours to resolve an incident,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a huge system. But now
Correct.
using AI, the summarization of all the issue and their, the steps it provides to resolve, that
Mm-hmm.
has coming up within minutes,
That's a
and
great
some of this is
improvement.
very, very, very helpful. Yeah. for
Mhm.
resolving issues. There still are, some trickiness around AI because it hallucinates, it gives you wrong
Hmm.
information. You still have to apply judgment, and there are some rework also. So I would like to talk about one more thing, right? Engineers are relying heavily on AI to do
Hmm.
day-to-day activities on operations side, but
Hmm.
here you have to apply it very carefully. One of the incident happened with our low severity incident, where we were using AI to mostly resolve all the low severity incident, looking at
Hmm.
the alarms and seeing if it is
Hmm.
working or not. So in one, context, what happened is one of the hosts went down and the heartbeat missing alarm was fired. So when that
Hmm.
alarm fires means there is no heartbeat for a host, it's dead, right?
Hmm.
So after some time, the system assumes the remaining healthy hosts are the only host available because there is
Okay.
no other matrix, right? So
Hmm.
it assumes system is healthy and it recovers, and AI thinks, oh, system has recovered, just close this alarm. But
Oh,
that particular host, that dead, has processes running
this
into
is,
it, and nobody looked into that, and that caused multitude of issues
issues.
that
Hmm.
taken us some time
Yes,
to
yes.
understand as a result. So yes,
Hmm.
AI is helping with productivity, but we still need to add some guardrails. Our runbook has to be proper. AI need guidelines. It cannot execute on its own, so you need to
Yes,
build
sir.
that context. Eventually it will get better, but yes, there are some drawbacks of increased productivity, that there will be instances time to time where your productivity will drop, but you learn
Exactly.
from your mistakes. If we don't,
Mistakes.
yeah, if you
Hmm.
don't do that, then we will never grow. So these are
Absolutely.
part and parcel of adopting to AI, but I would say AI has been very helpful tool for engineers to increase their productivity.
I liked your example, real life example, because and it's same with the human beings too, right? We evolved with
Yeah,
experience. We did mistake. We learned from our experience, from our mistake. We figured out what was wrong, and then we came up with the policies, procedures, guidelines, everything, right? So same
yeah,
thing with AI, because as you keep saying, context is important, but this is probably first time this incident happened,
yeah,
right? So you do not have that context for the for your AI to learn from that mistake. So that's why
exactly.
it's very important
Yeah.
for. Okay, so I will jump into little further on this. One thing you mentioned is avoiding unnecessary complexity.
Hmm.
How can teams adopt AI without over-engineering their processes?
So that's a really really good question. I think the biggest mistake teams make is starting with the technology instead of starting with a pain point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, oh, I have the system. Let's use AI and try to do something, and assuming that AI is going to resolve your issue. But if you
Mm-hmm.
start with a pain point, that you have a smaller so area that you want to focus and resolve that issue properly,
Mm-hmm.
so from that talk on where can we use AI, you will think about where are engineers losing their unnecessary time today, and how we can save that time using AI,
Okay.
right? So that is the area where you are not over engineering. You are trying to use AI to reduce their manual overhead, their mental load. So the things that I have explained, like all the things that is manual effort, that generating some manual reports, generating some um, log analytics, generating your triaging, I looking into your what do you call it, data lineage. These kind of things AI can track very easily, very reliably. But if you try to over engineer system, say that okay, I have a recommendation engine that generates recommendation, and we have machine learning, deep learning embedded into that, but let's take it one notch further and just build the whole agentic AI cluster and let AI do everything instead of maintained by engineering team. And that's when system breaks, because the data platform is not ready to scale at the level of AI is operating, and things are gonna break. So I'll give you an example of how people sometimes over engineer stuff that is not even needed, right? It saves time, but some, not everything is important. You have to
Mm-hmm.
take one step at a time, save time, save, increase productivity, then use that productivity to do something that again is your one of your another pain point. So our major pain point was our keeping the lights on, the number of safe tools my team deals with on a day-to-day basis. It's the number of security central vulnerabilities that we get. So you would understand it better. So there is a security team who scans through all your repository and flag that, okay, these are the vulnerability in your system, resolve it
Mm-hmm.
within this time frame, or there will be guardrails you will not be able to deploy, and you cannot do anything with your repository until you fix it. There are hundreds and hundreds of tickets per month that we receive from that. And this is one of the major pain point, that I have to spend at least one or more than one engineer for the
Mm-hmm.
entirety of the month just on that, and to upgrade the dependencies, to restart some hosts, to do mundane manual work. There is a
Mm-hmm.
guideline, and if you use AI to do that, most of the things AI can do pretty well. But if you try to over engineer and say, like, I want a sophisticated system where I don't have to do anything and my AI will take care of everything, it will break
Mm-hmm.
your system.
Yeah.
So what happened is, we used AI to upgrade the dependency. It did that pretty well, but it also upgraded some sub dependency which was not part of the ticket. But it thought, while I'm doing this, why not upgrade the dependencies in the sub component. But when we started deploying, things started to break because that was not needed, and there was some major workflow running on those versions, and in the
Mm-hmm.
next version they were not available, so things started to break, so we had to manually go and revert back the changes. So again, it's a learning process. There are things
Absolutely.
that AI does pretty well, and if you try to over engineer, things may break. So start
Mm-hmm.
small, start with your pain point areas, and then build on top of it. It's iterative approach. I
Mm-hmm.
think engineering team has to take. Don't try to solve everything all at once. Start
Mm-hmm.
small, build on top of it.
I think what I understand from your answer is try strike a right balance between
Well,
usefulness and complexity. Like if
yes.
it's really useful, then go into that. Don't try to solve everything. It's not going to be possible to.
Right.
And
I think it's a standard software engineering practice, right? You
practice.
always break it into chunks and then,
Mm-hmm.
start with the major pain point, low hanging fruits, see
Mm-hmm.
how it is behaving, then you move on to the next one. If you try to do multiple things at once, something or the other is going to.
Everything will break
I
probably.
think same principle applies here as well, that,
Okay.
yeah, there will be complexity. You will think AI will helpful. It will be helpful, but take small steps.
Okay.
So, Rashi, we talked about the problems, complexity, how day-to-day operations get improvised with the use of AI tools. What I want to touch base on the next is the infrastructure operations helping or hindering the AI adoption in the company. Uh, so, you lead system that process large-scale telemetry data. What kind of operational insight become possible when AI is applied to that data?
Um, I think the biggest advantage is the scale, right? The large distributed systems like us generate enormous amount of data, and continuous data. It's not just one time it generates and then you wait for it's continuously generating, because it's the telemetry data, it's usage data, how your system is being used. So
Mhm,
metrics, the logs, the events, the infrastructure behavior, the performance signals, all of that we have to capture
mhm,
to make sense out of it. So our challenge was not just collecting the data. The challenge was identifying what actually matters inside those signals.
mhm.
How do you drive a decisions from those signals? And that's where the AI is becoming very useful. It's very good at identifying the patterns. It's
Pattern.
very good at identifying if there is any performance degradation, seasonality, right,
Hmm.
for the large time frame. And
Hmm.
it also helps, identifying the recurring operational trends, month over
Mm,
month trend, week over week trend. So we are able to generate more insights for our customers, that what is their system's behavior, or even for us, what is your
mm,
system behavior over time, and
mm,
look into downgrading their, resources, or upgrading their resources to maintain the similar performance. They can save more cost, they can get more performance or more reliability, and they can correlate across multiple systems, not isolated systems.
mm,
So it is becoming much more faster than it's humanly manually possible using static, calculations. And another insights that we are getting is, generating the dashboards, and recognizing the logs. And
mhm.
honestly, this become even more important because the environments don't always behave the same way. Like I
Yeah.
explained earlier, right? We have 100 plus regions. Every
Mm,
region data volume, veracity, variety is very different from each other. The
mhm,
infrastructure configuration also different. One region may require huge infrastructure to support the data. Another region will require the minimum capacity to deal
mm,
with their data. So the so many differences going together to maintain such a huge system. AI is becoming very, very useful to scan through systems, scan through component,
mhm.
provide the reasoning, provide us the steps to overcome and make
Okay.
the decision better. So that's where I think it's getting very helpful.
So the next question is organically based on your comment that it helps to improve, reduce the cost, improve the performance, and increase the reliability. Do you want to give example, real life example for that? Like, how does it help to achieve that for the
Okay,
company?
so just to give you an example, right? Customers don't want their raw operational data. What will they do with that, right? They
Mm-hmm.
want to know that are we over provisioned? So they make a contract with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, right?
Okay.
Year over year, and they have certain amount of resources that they use,
Mm-hmm.
say computer resources to run their, workload.
Mm-hmm.
And their week over week trend or month over month trend suggests that they're utilizing only 25% of the workload. Rest
Mm-hmm.
5% is just sitting idle, but
Mm-hmm.
not paying for it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just customer that you can downgrade it to this level, and in return there is no performance degradation, but you can save some cost. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Using this internally, last year we save, $16 million of
For
cost
customer.
internal,
Wow.
not for
Oh, for
external customer,
company.
internally for OCI.
Wow. Hmm.
Right, and for
That's a
back
big
to back
number.
2 years, yeah,
Hmm.
back to back 2 years, 15, 16 million per year that we have saved
Hmm.
internally by using our data to see where are we over provision. The second aspect is, they can also determine how much more capacity they need based
Hmm.
on the workload, and how they are utilizing it right now. So it
Hmm.
helps them make future contract with the cloud company like us, and
Hmm.
then they can see if there is any reliability risk. So the recommendation engine we have generates multiple types of recommendation for compute, for different resources, right? Compute,
Hmm.
databases, object storage, load balancer, to see where they're over provision, under provision,
Hmm.
they have more space left, where they are not utilizing, or detached volume, etc., and they can take action on it.
Perfect. Okay. That's a wonderful example. Thank you for giving. Because always we keep talking about it, but when you put a real example, the picture becomes very clear suddenly, right? And then you can
Yes.
relate to it. So,
Yeah, and these
uh,
numbers are very, very important, right? All the customers, people don't really think about it, and if we don't have a service like that, customer can very easily over provision, because there is no
mhm,
other way to know how they are using, because
exactly.
all the resources are across systems. It's
Hmm.
mainly impossible for a particular customers to go through everything and understand how well they are utilizing their resources. So that is where we are, helping our customers.
And every company will think of getting more data. Like over provisioning is always better than under
Y-
provisioning because you don't
y-
want your operation to be impacted because of capacity issues later on, right?
Yes,
So
and yeah, and that's where seasonality comes into picture, right? When
yeah.
we generate recommendation, we don't just generate recommendation of as of today.
Static.
We
Yeah.
look into the history, historical trend, and then we suggest, like, based on your trend, you generally in December, when there is
And
you know
holiday season.
holiday season and the use go
Mm.
up,
Mm-hmm.
you need to over provision.
Yes,
But after that is done, you can reduce your resources and save some money. Who doesn't like to save money, right?
exactly.
And if it is on a click of a button, everybody would like to do, and that's what we offer our customers.
Absolutely. That I was thinking about holiday season only when you talked about seasonality, right? Because people spend money, you book travel, like finance companies might need more data because everybody's but like doing shopping, traveling and everything.
Retail, be it airlines, be
Exactly.
it, even social media, everything just boomed
Like,
during
yeah,
the holiday.
exactly. So
Yeah,
that period you might need more capacity to take care of your operation, but then make
you need to
summer
maintain that year
throughout
around.
the year. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you see AI becoming a core operational layer for managing infrastructure effectively and reliably over the period?
Um, yeah, I think so, but it's not gonna happen, right away. It's going to happen gradually,
Overnight.
very carefully, right? Because today AI is useful operationally. I can see that I have incorporated that into my team. It
Mm-hmm.
helps with investigations, it helps with log analysis, it helps with documentation, it helps with testing, it helps with code generation, summarization, it helps with reporting, it helps with dashboarding, it helps with triaging, and that's already meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think team should immediately jump towards fully autonomous operational decision making, without guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
I have given you examples of how low severity issue without guardrails went into multitude of high severity issues, and one small mistake, things can break, right? So building context is very, very important. Until you are ready for that, take small steps. uh, we have seen variety of situations where AI was very helpful, but there are still situations where AI was hallucinating or misunderstood the whole context and generated something which is not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are a lot of good things and lot of reminders that you have to be careful.
Careful.
It has to be gradual, right? So yeah, so my suggestion would be, yes, it will become, but it has to be thought carefully, build right tools, right context for AI, and take smaller steps, be iterative, and keep working on it so that it improves, you know uh,
Absolutely.
significantly with time.
Yeah. As you keep saying, like catch the high beneficial, low hanging fruits,
Yes,
play around it, and then slowly scale over it so that you also learn from that experience. And as you keep saying, like industry is also evolving, LLMs are evolving, tools are
yes,
evolving. So
yes.
you can like agile mode, right? There
Evolving
is no other
really
choice.
fast, right?
Really
What was
fast.
not possible 2 months ago is possible now. So,
Wow.
you never know how soon it's gonna come. But, so AI will be capable, but our engineers needs to be capable too. Our system
True.
needs to be capable to adopt that,
Absolutely.
right? And that will happen when you slowly adopt, with right guardrails, with right mindset, and
And in
when
smaller chunk, as you were keep saying that you cannot do everything at the same time, right? Do it in chunks so that you also have the ability to play around it, learn from it, and then get best of the latest tools available in that area,
Yeah,
kind of.
I mean, I just want to say this, and I have this itch to say this. Everywhere in every conferences you go or listen to, social media is so much hyping AI that people are thinking, are we not doing enough with AI? Like, I get this question a lot from my team. Are we not doing enough with AI? Like, should
Mm.
we like build something out of this whole world and then, do something very wow? And I have been telling my team, we will get to that, right?
Hmm.
But we also need to maintain our system. Within matter of time we will get there, but right now is the time for carefully examining every situation.
Hmm.
And um, people need to learn. The tools are evolving, right? The
Hmm.
OpenAI came up with lot of new tools, and
Hmm.
Anthropic came up with lot of new models. They are every day they are just improvising things.
Correct?
So we need to be ready to adopt. We need, so that this is the transition stage that we
Yes.
are going through, right?
Mhm.
So adaptability is matters the most than, changing something revolutionary in your, systems and in your service.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with it. I have also seen that people just want to play because everybody is doing it. We also want to do something. But I keep saying, like, even wherever I go, this question keeps coming. What are you doing? How can we leverage? It's like what works for me might not work for you because every industry, every company, every organization is different. Your context, coming to that simple, is different. I don't know what is your biggest problem right now, or which has the most benefit out of it. So every company has to evaluate their own system and then come up with the problem statement which has the most benefit and then we adopt AI. It's not one rule applies to everybody.
Absolutely.
It's flexible. You have authority, you have liberty to adopt it in a way which makes sense to your company. So
Absolutely.
I think that part is many companies are still struggling to embrace that concept. They're thinking, no, no, everybody's doing, let's do that part of it. And another thing what I keep hearing is that, can we, as you said, can we build something? What I keep saying, that you don't have to build everything from scratch for every problem statement. There are tools available. You can sometimes just get from the market, go to market, buy something, and that might solve your problem. Like, everybody doesn't have to have in-house solution. So
Exactly.
those two things, company keep struggling, I think, to make that judgment call, what should be done in-house and what we can get from the
Get
market.
from outside.
Yeah.
And I will not go into the organizational, thinking of what they should build in house, what should they go buy from
Mhm.
outside. But what I generally say to my team is, every failure is a win, right? Every time we fail trying to use AI, we are learning something about AI's capability, where it is good, where it is bad. So even a failure is a win. We tried something, it did not work out, we learned from it, and then we will apply it into the next. And that
Mhm.
that context is very, very
Very
important,
important.
right?
Yes.
To build something, so just keep trying, build something. Even if it breaks, you just need to know how to recover faster, and then build something, next thing on top of
Yes.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Create, fail, learn, and move on. Don't wait for the perfect solution properly, because there will be never a time to have a perfect solution.
Even,
Industry will keep renewing.
yeah, not just with AI, right? Even today,
Everything,
without
everything
AI,
in life.
everything has the same, right? It's
Same
the same
thing.
concept.
Perfect. So now let's, because we touch upon the people, trust, and organizational as a whole, adopting this AI. So let's dwell into it a little bit more. How do engineering teams typically react to AI tools? Is it like, as you said, excitement, skepticism,
I
fear, or something else?
I think it is mix of all, right? Some people, they get really excited about it, right? Oh, when they see the new tool is coming, and they will just try to use it. Some people will get a little bit skeptical about it. Oh, didn't I just learn this thing, and now I have to again learn
Relearn.
something else, right? So it depends on personalities of engineers. And then also become, when you start adopting to new tool, you learn their limitations, you learn about, edge cases and all. Sometimes it's very exciting in the initial days and it's fizzled out. Sometimes it's like very slow adoption, and then you see the benefit at if it, and engineers get excited and start using it more. So honestly, I think it's everywhere right now. There are compatibility issues, there are mixed context,
Reaction.
mixed outputs from AI. So but this phase is healthy, right? This is a learning phase. It's a transitional phase,
Mhm.
right? So team are reacting, I think, mixed emotions, I would say.
Any inputs or probably guidelines for engineering team, like on the AI part, like how should future engineers develop their skills? How do should they change their mindset? Because that's what the one you said earlier, right? You have to adopt to this mindset of learning new things every now and then. And whether AI is primarily an assistant or replacement. So any thoughts on that for the future generation on this?
I think, judgment is becoming very, very important. Domain knowledge is becoming very, very important. You can
Mm-hmm.
be a good engineer, you can write a good code today, but in future that's not needed to be a good engineer. So
Mm-hmm.
build that domain knowledge, build that judgment, right? AI can generate the code for you, but you need to be able to identify whether this code is usable or not,
Mm-hmm.
whether this code will break things or not, right? You will have all the reports in front of you, but you still need to make a judgment that is this data corrupted, or is that data useful for me. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to have that inside. Now there is no junior engineer or senior engineer, right? Anybody who's that inside is a builder, and they are building things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think you now have to come out of that mindset that, okay, there is this algorithm I can code and fix the issue. No, that's not needed anymore. AI can do
Mm-hmm.
that pretty much easily. You need to know what kind of prompts you need to give AI so that it writes proper code. Engineers need to focus on building context for their AI. So, the building the ecosystem for the,
Mm-hmm.
that is even more important skills right now, and to grow further in this space. So it's evolving, right? This space itself is changing. I think we discussed very early on in our session today that the lines are getting blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is kind of doing everything. So
Mm-hmm.
being that knowledge oriented is more important than being code oriented. There, few years ago, like, there was a Java developer, there was a Python developer, there was this developer, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
we have software engineers, data engineers, web engineers, stuff like
True.
that. Now it will be AI engineers. Or
And it is
not even
already a concept.
engineer,
Yeah.
and not even engineer. There will be,
Mm.
just,
AI experts.
builder. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
expert, that you
That's
need
so
domain knowledge. Anyone
mm.
can write code.
Yeah.
You need to identify, is it usable code? How
Mm.
to productionalize, how to scale with that, right?
Mm.
That comes with, distributed, working with the distributed data systems, distributed ecosystem. That is very, very important even
Mm-hmm.
today. So
Okay.
I said that, yeah, that
That's
is
a
good.
great advice for the upcoming few like generation. I'm sure they are already smart, but getting that insight from somebody who has worked in the industry for long, right? That helps for getting that clarity. Where are we going? And with this, so many changes happening around us, I think getting advice on this front is very helpful for the
Yes, I think,
newcomers.
this next set of engineers, they are evolving. They are right now in this phase. Where should I go? What should I do?
Mm,
I go and I talk to university folks, the students from there. There's this huge gap with what they are being taught in the
mm-hmm.
universities and what is happening in the,
Happening right now.
right?
Right.
So they cannot, directly translate what they are learning. So
Mm,
they are wondering, where should we focus more? How do we get more, jobs, and
mm,
how do we prepare for those jobs?
mhm.
So I think, yeah, thinking about the domain specific knowledge is very, very important for them.
Exactly. And as you said, because domain knowledge is important, where should I start is the most important because that's where you will gather that
Yeah.
knowledge, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thinking is about mindset, right? If you want to become data engineer, you need to understand the data engineering mindset.
mm,
Uh, Not focus on the language or coding skills, but focus on the
mm,
mindset. What problem I'm going to solve when I become data engineer, or when I become software engineer? What problem I'm trying to solve? Just
mm-hmm.
focus on that, and the language, the coding, the debugging, AI can take care of it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. My last question will be a little bit futuristic. Over the next few years, now these days I say few years because earlier everybody used to say, where do you see in next 5 years, 10 years? I don't know where I will be in next 5 months. So I change my format of questions in this podcast that I just said next few years. What will separate teams that successfully adopt AI from those that struggle?
I think honestly, stay practical.
Mhm.
Don't try to use AI everywhere. Take smaller step. I, I'm keep repeating myself, but
It's a great
focus
advice, though.
Focus on where you are losing time, where engineers are losing time right now, all the manual effort, the mundane effort, the repetitive work that engineers are doing. Try to resolve that gap using AI. Try to,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, fill the gap of automation. Wherever you don't have automation, use AI to automate things.
Mm-hmm.
All the dependency management, the reporting needs, and everything. You can simply try to automate this using AI. And build the context around your service, slowly
Mm-hmm.
and steadily. Once your master context is built, uh, you know, you will be more empowered to use AI everywhere once that is done, right? So being intentional about your where to apply, identify your pain points,
Mm-hmm.
focus on those areas, slowly and steadily. Make mistakes, learn from it, keep applying. um, just make sure you have clear ownership within your team, because AI cannot
Yeah.
help with that ownership issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure your documentation is correct,
Mm-hmm.
because AI is reading those document and implementing something. That is the context that it is building. If your documentation is incorrect or have gaps in it, it's gonna fail. It's gonna break things. So this is a time to fix the gap that you have in your processes, in your documentations, in your inconsistent workflows.
Mm-hmm.
Fix those. Then you will be ready to expose AI everywhere to take
Wonderful.
full advantage of it in the next few years. So I think this is the grounding phase where if you are working on data platform, make it, powerful enough without any gaps, so that your AI layer can run on top of it and provide
Mm-hmm.
sufficient information and make the decision itself without relying on us
Mm-hmm.
to identify. So, and another thing is every industry to think about is how to scale with AI,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, fill these gaps, and then in next
Slowly
few,
and gradually pile
yeah,
on. Okay. So my takeaway from your biggest takeaway from your entire conversation for last 1 hour is that successful AI adoption isn't always start with massive transformation. It's a slow and steady progress.
yeah,
Start by solving real problems at the smaller scale and then build upon it in the practical ways which genuinely will help the team to become smarter and efficient over the period of time.
yeah.
So that's a great advice. Thank you so much, Rashi. Once again, Rashi, for being here. It was wonderful conversation and thank you for great advice. It
Thank you
was my
so much
pleasure
for
to have
having
you.
me. I know I have messaged you and I was really interested in talking about it, because, people don't understand that, not everyone is building machine learning models or large model AI. They are not building that. They are using AI, right? So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to come here and talk about these things that operationally we are doing for, large organizations. So people feel that, what they are doing is enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's important. That validation is required because
Yes.
as I say, you cannot, everybody cannot be developer or builder.
Yes.
Somewhere you have to also embrace these tools to make our life easier in an efficient way. That is also a contribution
Yes.
to the organization. So thank you for that validation
I
and
had fun talking to you. I hope we can
same here.
continue this, and all
We'll
the
we'll have another session for more topics for sure, Rashi.
all right.
You
Thank
have a nice weekend
you
ahead.
too. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.